Everything was going as planned. One day, I went back to the house to pick up something I had forgotten. As I walked inside, I heard my husband's voice coming from the living room. He said, "Your wife should be on her way to the other side soon," and my mother-in-law agreed. I was shocked and couldn't believe they hated me so much that they wanted to kill me, especially after living with me for so long. Normally, I would have confronted them right away, but I didn't because of my job. So I decided to start gathering evidence to expose them for what they had done. My name is Kathy Smith. My husband Ryan is 3 years older than me, and we got married 3 years ago. We met at his workplace during a traffic safety class. At the time, I was a police officer in the traffic division. It was my first time teaching a class, and I was nervous about speaking in front of a large group. Ryan helped calm me down, and we became good friends. Eventually, we got married, but even after being married for years, we still don't have children. I wanted to have kids right after we got married, but Ryan wasn't so sure. He would say things like, "Raising a child is expensive, so maybe we should wait until we've saved more money." But since we both work, I don't think money is really the issue. Every time we talk about having children, he just brushes it off. I'm not the only one worried about this. My mother-in-law, Heather, was excited about having grandchildren at first, but after 3 years, she started to think I didn't want to have any. She would say things like, "You're not getting any younger, so you better hurry up." She even told me that if a woman doesn't give her husband children, she's no better than a housekeeper. I tried to explain to Ryan what his mother says to me, but he just gets annoyed and asks, "Are you blaming me?" I was overworked and exhausted. Whenever I mentioned wanting to have a child, my husband would say, "If you really want a child, make an effort to make me feel that way." He started paying too much attention to how I looked, but his tastes didn't match mine. He liked women who dressed younger, but I couldn't always be trendy because of my job. He just didn't understand. He would say, "A wife who doesn't dress well isn't fit to be a woman. Think about that before complaining to me." I couldn't believe this was the same man who had been so sweet to me before. I regretted marrying him. 2 years into our marriage, my work schedule changed, and it became harder to match my days off with his. We started spending less and less time together. I knew this wasn't good for our relationship. Even when we finally managed to have time off together, Ryan would make plans with someone else. When I reminded him, "You promised we'd go to the movies today," he would just say, "Some girls at work invited me to go fishing. They needed help with the bait." Even though he apologized, he always had a grin on his face, like he didn't really care. My much-anticipated plans were constantly ruined by his selfishness. I wanted to spend my days off at home, but then my mother-in-law would show up unannounced. She'd say things like, "Oh, Ryan isn't here? I guess he'd rather be with other girls than with you." I didn't want to deal with her cruel remarks, but I couldn't just leave her alone and go out. So my days off would often end with her making sarcastic comments like, "You don't seem able to have children. You need to be more proactive. You are his wife, right?" When she asked about our finances, I hesitated to tell her. Even though she was my mother-in-law, I didn't feel comfortable sharing private matters. When I told her I earned a little less than my actual pay, she sneered and said, "Oh my, that's surprisingly less than I thought. How can you want to have children with such low wages?" I couldn't understand why my mother-in-law was comparing me, a civil servant, to someone wealthy. It didn't make sense to me, and it made me uncomfortable. Something about her behavior seemed strange, and little did I know, this was just the beginning of a much bigger problem. After that day, my mother-in-law started openly bullying me. She began visiting our house more often, to the point where she was there half the week. One day when I came home from work, I found her inside, cooking dinner. She had used her own key to get in. She greeted me with, "Oh my, you're a wife, but you prioritize work over family. It must be nice not having children." Her sarcastic remarks were bad enough, but I also started feeling sick after eating her meals. She would even wake me up after I had worked a night shift, saying, "How long do you plan to stay in bed? You're not a good wife if you sleep until noon because of your job. That'll make a man want to go out and find someone else." Then she forced me to eat breakfast. Over time, I noticed that nothing I ate tasted good, and some food even tasted bitter. After more than a month of this, I was exhausted from stress and lack of sleep, and I had to rush to the bathroom right after eating. When Ryan saw how tired I looked, instead of being concerned, he got annoyed. He said, "I feel down too when you make such a sour face at home. You've been slacking by letting my mother do the housework, so at least be sociable." I tried to tell him that his mother only came over when I was too busy to do the housework, and she was always sarcastic, but he ignored me and kept watching TV. He didn't listen to anything I said, just laughed at the TV show. I couldn't hold back my anger anymore. "Ryan, you don't even look at me when we talk anymore. You cancel plans with me even on holidays. Are you having an affair? I asked. Ryan raised his voice and said, That's a horrible accusation. I have business matters to deal with. How can you say that without understanding how difficult it is? You must be the one cheating on me if you feel that way. He was furious, and I was too shocked to respond. Then he knocked a vase off the table, shattering it on the floor, with shards flying at my feet. You didn't have to go this far, I said, feeling threatened by him for the first time. Unfortunately, this wasn't the last time something like this happened. Since then, just being at home with my husband made me feel uneasy. One day, I had to leave for a few days on a work trip. As I was heading out, I realized I had forgotten an important notebook at home, so I hurried back to get it. The day before, my mother-in-law had made a snide remark saying, It's so nice of you to go on a business trip without doing any housework, isn't it? I felt awkward about seeing my husband because we had argued before I left, so I opened the front door slowly, trying not to make a sound. When I got inside, I noticed my mother-in-law's shoes by the door. I was about to leave quietly, but then I overheard them talking. I got the thing, and so far everything is going as planned, my husband said. Your wife is going to die soon, my mother-in-law responded. That's correct, but it's not working as quickly as I thought. She's been running to the bathroom after every meal, so I guess it's about time. Their conversation shocked me to the core. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What did they mean? I quickly took out my voice recorder, which I always keep with me, and started recording their conversation. They had no idea what I was doing and continued talking loudly about their terrible plan. Should we increase the amount of the life insurance policy? My husband asked. That way, we can pay off Mom's debt, right? I'd be extremely grateful, my mother-in-law replied, and you won't have to look at that ugly girl every day anymore. I held my breath in shock. I couldn't believe they thought of me this way, even if they didn't like me. Then, I heard my husband say, She's a police officer, but she's in the traffic department, so she'll never find out. I went from being sad to becoming more and more angry, vowing to get revenge on them. During my business trip, I couldn't stop thinking about how to get back at my husband. A colleague noticed my gloomy expression, and when I vented to him, he told me something I wasn't expecting. He mentioned that a drunken man had caused a scene at a club recently, and when he got there, he discovered the man was Ryan, my husband. My colleague said he recognized my husband right away because he had been at my wedding. Apparently, Ryan had shouted, This is my girlfriend, while drunk and was hugging female workers and kicking the table. But this wasn't just drunken talk, he seemed to be in an actual relationship with the woman. At that moment, everything Ryan had done up to that point made sense to me. I wasn't surprised, but I was determined to conduct a thorough investigation into my husband's affairs as well. I wasn't going to let this go easily. A week later, Ryan suddenly started talking to me in the same friendly tone he used when we first began dating. I was suspicious, expecting him to have a hidden agenda. Then, he handed me a document. Kathy, you always give your all in your dangerous job as a police officer. I admire you as your husband, but I'm concerned about you, he said. To my surprise, it was a life insurance application. I was convinced he was planning to carry out the scheme. Still, I wanted to believe in Ryan one last time. Do you really believe that someone would try to murder me? Would you be concerned if that happened? I asked, locking my gaze on his. Ryan nodded at me with a big smile on his face. So get moving. Please sign this application, he urged. I realized that all he could see now was the insurance money he could get in exchange for my life. He was a scumbag to the core, but thanks to him, I felt confident in taking action against him. In this world, you never know who's out to get you, do you? I said, implying the danger he was putting me in. Yes, and yes. There have been so many upsetting incidents. Someone in your family, for example, might have a stupid idea, like planning to get rid of a wife who causes problems because he wants to be with a younger woman. Ryan's eyes began to dart nervously as he became visibly upset. His mother had pushed him to take out an expensive insurance policy on me and kill me. Wait a second, what the hell are you talking about? He stammered. In front of my husband, I played the voice recorder. His face twisted in horror as he heard his own conversation with his mother and their vulgar laughter. Hey, what's this recording? He demanded. I happened to overhear it, I replied calmly. Thank goodness I had my voice recorder. I wouldn't have it if I'd spent my entire life working in traffic. But you work in the traffic division, he protested weakly. I'm now in the criminal division. I also told you that, I responded coldly. But I guess you've been too busy thinking about another woman to notice. I slammed down the photographs of the affair evidence I had found hidden in his room. These were the only things I found while searching the house when my husband was away, but they were strong evidence. I don't know anything about these pictures. I don't even know who she is, my husband claimed. Huh, I heard she works at a fancy club, the one where you caused a problem. You even shouted, she's my girl. How much do you know about her? I'm not sure, he said, looking worried. He was now making excuses to me, his wife, no matter what. My mother freaked out when she found out I was seeing another woman. She insisted I marry her instead of you because of your low salary. My husband's words started to make sense. When my mother-in-law asked about my salary and said it was low, she was probably talking about my husband's girlfriend. Listening to the voice recording, I realized my mother-in-law owed a lot of money. It was pretty low of her to try to pay off her debt with my life insurance money and with my husband's new girlfriend. So you're saying it was your mother who came up with this plan? I asked. Yeah, I had absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you talking about? You cheated on me in the first place, and now you're blaming someone else. That's disgusting. You will never be forgiven, I shouted. My husband grabbed my chest, screaming nonsense. I grabbed his hand and threw him to the ground with all my strength. I'm a cop. I'm used to dealing with aggressive people like you. I don't need life insurance to protect myself. When he saw the handcuffs, my husband became weak and started apologizing. You're under arrest. I'm sorry, I don't know what I was doing. Please forgive me, he pleaded. You can explain yourself at the police station. You'll have plenty of chances to talk. After that, my husband and his mother were jailed for plotting to kill me. I filed for divorce and demanded $20,000 in alimony from both my husband and his girlfriend. They might be released soon since it was only an attempted murder, but I'm sure they'll lose their jobs. Life will be hard for them with the alimony payments and paying off my mother-in-law's debts. As for me, for the first time in a long while, I'm enjoying living alone. I've been living in a cramped space, so I've decided to stretch out and enjoy my freedom for a little longer.